Hi, I'm Lexi. I'm an artist. This is my studio, and this is my really disorganized flat file. At one point, it was extremely organized, but we've lost the plot, and so today I'm going to be taking you, well, let me close all these. I'm going to be organizing my flat file. I'm going to be taking you through all the random stuff that I have in here, including artwork, linoleum, blocks for block printing, paper that I really love. Who knows what I'm going to find in here. So if you're interested, if you're feeling a little nosy, let's go. Let's look inside and let's make it look a lot less overwhelming when I open the drawers to get some stuff done. I'm thinking the best way to approach this is going to be to go through the drawers, make some piles, maybe one that is things I'm definitely getting rid of, and the others things I'm keeping, and then slowly I think things are going to start revealing themselves as actual piles. So then if there are things in here that already have a place outside of my flat file, I will make sure that they go to their intended home. And then things that I want to keep and that I know I want to keep in the flat file, I can start organizing to better understand a system that'll make it easy to find things in here. Notes that I took when I was developing my cycle tracking zine. A lot of these rough sketches did end up becoming things that are in the zine, which is really cool. I love seeing where things begin and end in my creative process. And that's often why I end up keeping things like this. And to see my logic and reasoning behind my original decision making when it's been quite a while, she will be staying with us. I'm recording this in post because the paper was so crinkly that you couldn't really tell what I was saying. This is a big block print I created on newsprint to use as wrapping paper, but then I got too precious about it and never used it. So I'm going to take it home and actually use it for a gift. The way that it's stamped all scattered is really visually fun for me. Little rat block print. First drawer, empty. This stuff, not organized yet. But we got all the newsprint out and we're on to the next one. I have a lot of transparencies for screen prints. So the way screen printing works is you print your design on transparency paper, typically in the blackest black that you can get. And then you lay that over your light sensitive material that's on the screen so that everything that is exposed to light will harden and everything that is not exposed to light will not harden and will wash away. So I have worked on a lot of different screen printing projects, especially over the last year, making the greeting cards for my website. So these should probably go in a more intentionally organized place than just cattywampus in this drawer. Here's the transparency for my 2026 calendar. Very satisfying. Every year I create a screen printed calendar, or at least I have for the last 2 years, and I wanted to share some things that happened. So I created these in the fall of 2024, and lovely. really nice calendar. Unfortunately, I did add an extra day in November. If you know the song, 30 days has September, April, June, and November. All the rest have 31. This is incorrect. So I had to go in and reprint this whole entire set of calendars all over again. It was a big learning process for me. I had done screen printing and printmaking work in college, but at that point it had been, I don't know, 8 years since I had done it. Screen printing is such a fickle thing to relearn and to get your situation dialed. There's just so many different variables to consider, including like the temperature of your chemicals, the humidity in your space, the lighting exposure unit you're using, the emulsion you're using. There's a lot. In all this learning, I did end up reprinting the calendar with the correct number of days in November. And I had another misprinting situation during that time period as well. My husband's name is Jesse, and when I was working on this more complicated calendar design for 2025 that was like a multiple colored print, Jesse had to come to me and say that he thought that I needed to reprint it. And I had really given my all to this project, but it was definitely the one that I learned on. So he was definitely right. You can see on this original version that a lot of the letters and numbers are either really small or not fully visible. I was printing very, very small text on not the right size screen. I begrudgingly admitted Jesse was right and ended up reprinting them, and the details ended up so much better. I'm gonna pull one out to show. Oh my god, just crazy so much better. Looking back, it's like, how would I have sold those other ones that didn't look this clean? Jesse's argument was like, if it's a calendar, people need to be able to read it. Obviously, he was right. I was just really trying to make this chaos work. So here is the original print before I redid it, and the reprint. I mean, it's just so much cleaner. There's so much more information available. It's more readable. I didn't end up doing a multicolor print this year because it was a pretty big undertaking. I am forever proud of the 2025 print. Yeah, the different colorways I ended up making it in. Here are a couple of views so you can get an idea of the different color layers. The first thing I would print would be the white layer, and then I would go in and add the orange, then the dark red, eventually adding in the green as well. And there were some versions where instead of using red, I used yellow, which I think this looks really nice. The centers of the flowers just really pop, and the detail on the flowers really pop. But this one was another draft where I was still trying to figure out the contrast between the orange in the background and the red. Very helpful info about my process, about trusting the process, admitting when something needs to be redone, and listening to the people who care about you, even if you're annoyed with what they're saying. So, thanks, Jesse. I wanted to show a couple of block prints and the blocks that I carved to make them. I've used a bunch of different types of blocks over the years, some more thin, some thicker and easier to cut, and it's very satisfying going through my archive of blocks and prints and seeing the two of them together. It's also always that funny frustration of the block needs to be carved backwards. Whatever you carve is going to be the opposite way. So when you're carving text or when you get really attached to a composition, you need to think about it backwards. It's a fun challenge. I created this stamp while I was in Canada, not last summer, but the summer before, and experimented with printing it out in a handful of different ways. I love how this looks. So satisfying. And this opposite direction one is also really nice. The little shapes that I was making with it. Apparently I made a little star put in there too. And then this is another print that I created on that trip. Here's the block. Just a bunch of different little images from the property that we were staying on. This is one of my early prints where I was determining different things I might want to change, marking up areas to give a second go at. And this one's one of the later versions. I love that color gradient. Instead of rolling out ink for these, I just used an ink pad. So it was fun to experiment with different combinations of the colors together. That's why I was able to get this really soft green version and then also a really vivid blue version. I think what I ended up hanging in the space after we left was one more like this. Almost has that water-like quality. This was another one of my early days screen printing projects, and you can see how ambitious I was in the detail work of this one as well. Really tough registration. All of this is starting to make me want to play with printmaking again. I also am curious to just play with the pre-existing prints, like adding to them these little cards, just like filling in with a different type of material. Because they're beautiful. A lot of work went into them, a lot of time. Yeah, they're interesting. I ended up creating a little folder out of newsprint to hold the block prints just to keep everything organized. I found before that when things were just loosely placed into the flat file, they would just slide around every time I opened the drawers. So I felt like this is an easy solution. I placed some of the larger blocks into this cardboard box to keep them protected and organized. Yes, I do have a random collection of Ziploc bags in my studio for this exact situation. Smaller blocks went into the Ziploc bags. In this bottom drawer, I decided to put mostly newsprint. I also just put a couple of larger things I needed to store flat, like some transparency film and some other larger pieces of paper for printmaking. The zine planning documents, some pattern pieces, all sorts of good stuff. This drawer is mostly full of French paper. It's the kind of paper I use for screen printing. It's really nice cardstock. This one is miscellaneous. I've got some French paper, blank notebooks, blank paper. I put a bunch of blank lino cut blocks in here as well. So it's just sort of like a drawer of possibility. This one has pre-existing things in it. So block prints I've already made, blocks I've already carved, transparencies. I also stuck some of the calendar prints into there and some cyanotype prints that I put into this little folder here to keep safe. And the top drawer is the best part because there's nothing in it. I've got some little prints here, and I have some photo prints in that cardboard sleeve over there for Jessie, but otherwise there is possibility in this flat file, and before this there was none. And this is where I'm gonna leave you for the day, watching me sit on the floor going through my get rid of pile. I really appreciate you watching, and it was really fun getting a chance to share some of the things from my archive in this video. Definitely gave me an appreciation for the work I've created in the past with linocut, cyanotype, screen printing, and it's cool to know that I can return to those mediums when I feel ready. If you have any questions about my setup or really anything I've got going on in the studio right now, I would love to chat in the comments, so comment below. And if you liked this video, it would be super helpful for me if you'd like it and subscribe. You know, all that good YouTuber stuff. Thanks for being here, and I hope to see you here again very soon. Have a great one.